Your full name?
Melvin Claypool. They said, afraid to run out of names. They didn't give me a middle name, the joke.
Birth date?
3/31/29.
I would like to make a note. He was born just before the Depression.
Yeah,
Birthplace?
Amber Township, a mile straight south from where I live now. Born at home, and Decker Road was muddy and the horses wouldn't pull a car, so they hitched the car behind the hay wagon, pulled him in.
To get the doctor there.
Yeah, pulled the doctor to the house.
And were you named after anyone?
My father.
Do you have a nickname?
Several through the years. It was usually Junior. Through the years, there's some later ones. When he was working, we made some foolish remarks. Two of us was to know as a mule and jackass. And we carried that working for quite a while with our leather aprons. I called them harness.
And who was the mule and who was the jackass?
Yeah, I don't know which was which.
But who were they talking about?
My wife's brother and me.
And his name was?
Al Potter.
Al Potter. So you and Uncle Al
Yeah.
were the mule and the jackass.
You know, the construction men have some very choice names for each other.
So where did you grow up?
Where I'm living right now, same house. Well, we moved there when I was 5. Say they lost the house where I was born during the Depression.
Where was that at? 617 West Sugar Grove?
Yeah, it was a different route too when we moved there, but the numbers came in later. There was no radio or no electricity, no running water. There was 5 children. We had a good time playing, go back in the sand hill, just a different life than it is today.
How many phones did your house have?
None. The big telephone line went in front, but you had to speak ahead of time to get a phone. There was one about every half a mile or a mile.
Did you have indoor plumbing?
No electricity, no running water.
So where was the bathroom?
The outhouse out and back. My dad was always had to have horses. He was 52 when I was born. And I think it was Scottville we went in. There was more horses than there was cars in the town before Christmas. And that'd be right early Depression days.
Did your mother have any favorite dishes she liked to prepare to eat?
Whatever we ate was available. You never know. Meat was short, I know that, but I know one time was cornmeal mush for breakfast and fried cornmeal meal mush for dinner at the evening.
Did your family struggle financially?
We had to be very careful, raising berries and fruit and such. The sand was burned out farm. We had to find what would grow.
Were you raised to use cash or did you borrow money?
Oh, cash, it would be save for something instead of borrowing it, making payments. But Dad said, "Oh, it'll kill you."
Did you ever barter for things? Like trade something for something?
Oh no, like eggs, we didn't use them all. Like to sell them at Schoenberger's.
Do you remember any early birthday memories when you had a birthday?
Oh, we always had a little extra meal, nothing special.
Have a cake?
Sometimes we went to my grandma's, we always got a cake with walnut frosting, black and walnut trees that grew by the house.
And where was your grandma living?
On 31, US 31, about a mile from where we live.
Did you share a bedroom with siblings?
Well, after the house burned, one room, father and mother and 5 children lived in one room house. My dad was boiling syrup at the time, and I was in Sugar Grove School, and my younger brother got playing in matches. He crawled up on the stove and got them. He threw one on the wall where the plaster was off. He knew he was in trouble.
So then you moved where across the road?
We moved back toward Lincoln River in that one-room house. Not a
Okay.
very big one. The first winter I know they heated it with a cook stove. My dad, we lived about a quarter of a mile from a lake. We'd get down and get panfish, cane poles in the back of the house. She took one, soaked corn in the water till it got tender, and baited the hook, and she caught an old rooster pheasant. And we had pheasant dinner. Times of depression era, you got what you could get. I don't ever wish anyone to go through that. Early 30s, we always had plenty of work. I think the old farmers had kids to do the work for them.
Were you punished if you misbehaved?
Oh yeah. The worst one was a hitch reins with the bridle, them little leather straps.
Who did most of the cooking?
My mother, she did all of it.
Did you eat together as a family
Oh,
probably?
definitely.
At night, everybody.
Yeah.
Did your mom can and do all that kind of stuff?
Oh, she canned and everything that she can. Had to plan ahead.
Because you didn't have a freezer.
No, we didn't have no electricity.
No
No
electricity.
freezer. In the end, we had an ice box. Well, didn't do too much.
When you say ice box, did it really have real ice in it?
Yes,
So you had to have ice.
we'd
box.
wrap real ice in newspaper so that it didn't melt so fast.
Did the ice box look like a refrigerator?
Yeah. See, we didn't have electricity. Whatever we could do.
Is there something you can remember you had when you were a kid that you really liked for food?
Hot dogs. They really tasted good. Schoenberger's made.
So do you still like hot dogs?
Oh, a little bit, not like I used to.
Did you ever have a babysitter?
Yeah, when my younger sisters was born, we had one. Oh, and I spent most of my time at Grandma's.
When you were a child, what activities did you do that nobody does today for fun?
We played mumbledy peg and stuff. I carried a knife and I was 7 years old.
What's mumbly peg?
Just to throw it in the ground.
At something?
Yeah, just boys making a. See, we made whistles out of soft maple and a lot of stuff we did that they don't do today.
You made whistles, you said?
Yeah, peel the bark.
Did you ever sneak out of the house when you were a kid?
Oh, go out and play, yeah.
Just go out in the yard and play?
Oh, yeah. Go back in the sand hill where them pines are today.
Okay, and just play in the sand hill?
Oh, yeah. It was steep enough we'd slide down the bank.
Was there a significant problem that you worried about when you were a child?
Get more meat to eat. Yeah, see, I caught a bunch of rabbits one time. Figure 4 was no Popular Science magazine or one of them, Figure 4. Set it under a wash tub.
To catch rabbits right in your yard.
Yeah, when we lived back in that one-room house.
Okay, so you caught rabbits with a wash pan, somehow something that would drop on them?
Yeah, just reach in and grab them.
They didn't bite you?
No, but they could kick you. The first one I got could have been bad, but I didn't get in trouble when I got him in the house. And he'd stand up and fight, kick at you. My dad clunked him with a hammer.
Okay, I never heard that one. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Anything where I could make $1.
Was there somebody when you were a kid that you looked up to?
My half-brother Francis quite a bit. He was kind of a character, though.
How much older was Francis?
14 years, months short of 14 years.
Okay, maybe tell everybody all your names of your brothers and sisters and in order. You got Francis.
And then there was Howard on my dad's side. He was almost 28 years older than I am. See, my dad was 52 when I was born. My mother's 34, so
So Howard was 28 years older than you.
yeah, from he was married in his 20s the first time.
Yeah, okay. So then there was you.
Yeah, and then there was quite a while between me. And then there was me.
Okay, then after you,
Stella,
and she was how much younger?
about a year and a half.
And then,
John,
and he was,
not
well,
about the same yet. Well, there was 5 of us within 7 years, so
and after John,
Ruth,
and then
Nettie.
Nettie.
Nettie was seemed to be kind of my special one all through the years, the littlest one.
As a child, did you have a favorite holiday?
Early, I remember Christmas.
What did you get for Christmas?
Not much, but a good feed. We raised nice beef, and Schoenbergers bought it, and they shipped out oranges and roast and big Christmas basket. And I know I sure enjoyed the oranges.
So no presents.
That was probably about it. No money, no presents.
Right.
My dad would work at WPA in the winter time.
And what's the WPA?
Work project. Everybody around knows what WPA. I think they got $32 a month.
And where did he go?
They worked on the roads and such. Shovel snow on the roads to get the roads open.
So he did that in the winter?
Yeah, my dad did it. I went to school when I was in grade school. I went through the 8th grade in Sugar Grove School, walked there every day.
And that was on US 31.
Yep,
And back then it was just a small 2-lane road.
yep. Gravel in front of the house, cow path.
When you were a kid, were you outgoing or shy?
Kind of a quiet fellow.
Quiet.
Picked on all the time, bullied. The littlest one. George Reed toughened me up, so to speak. Told me I didn't have to take it, turn it loose. And anybody that picked on me, didn't get away with it when I got a little older.
I was going to say, because you were bigger,
Yeah, we were bigger, it didn't make any difference.
because you were 6'2".
All the time I was the smallest one, the tallest one when I got a little older.
Yeah.
Kept right on growing.
Okay, tell about playing basketball. You played basketball.
A little bit. I'd messed my leg up because I fell the summer before on that barn building working with my dad. During the war and that, there was no really between schools, just intramural. And I took care of my grandma because nobody else would. Milk 2 cows, feed the chickens, and build the fires, and
And how old were you?
early teens.
So like 13, 14?
Yeah, go to high school, and I couldn't do any homework. And every day, Saturdays and stuff, walk over to my parents' house a mile away.
And help at your
Yeah,
parents'
they
house.
always had jobs. I
Oh.
don't know how I did all that and keep up with school.
And you said you played football a little bit?
Oh, I tried to practice a little bit, and in a bad game, I played about 2 minutes once and got kicked in the head.
So you graduated
Oh, yeah.
in what year?
1947.
And how many kids were in your class?
Seemed like 56 or something. I don't remember. I know it was the largest class at Scottville graduated at that time.
And also another big deal was when you were a kid, the war was on.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
how-
when I was at my grandma's.
And how did that war affect you?
I was very interested in history and that.
But there's things you couldn't get because of the war.
Yeah. We had a teacher that had been a missionary and followed through all Adolf Hitler's characters. She had a little bulletin book that I had. It got burned up in the barn burn.
What was her name?
Lila Colbert, if I
Okay.
remember it right.
And she was a missionary.
Yeah. In her 60s.
She was in her 60s teaching school.
Yes.
A history class?
Yeah, history and anything I needed. We had a wonderful superintendent, Arnold Carlson. He
Dale.
taught all the hard subjects and was the law. If you hated him, you loved him.
Tell about your one-room schoolhouse. How did that work when you were a little kid as a one-room schoolhouse?
Oh, Sugar Grove School?
Yeah, the teacher.
That was different teachers. Couldn't, if you got tired of what you was doing, you could list the next class up.
Do you remember the names of the teachers?
Oh, yes. Grace Clark was there when I started.
Was the teacher responsible, like had to build the fire?
Oh, yeah, build a fire. I think the first one got $50 a month. Then it went up to $65 and $75. Sure is a difference today. Didn't have indoor toilets. They had in the woodshed a chemical toilet with a tank under it. Then they pumped it once or twice a year.
And was there electricity at the school?
Oh, there was electricity for lights hanging from the ceiling.
And was there running water at the school?
No running water. We pumped it and they'd get a fountain with a bottle with a glass under it. First it was a dipper and a bucket and a dipper.
And so, like, how many kids would be in the school?
Anywhere, usually about 30, sometimes less. Some of the farm boys was 15, 16 years old before they got through the 8th grade.
That was through the 8th grade.
Yeah.
And were there other small schools around?
Oh, every few miles there's one. To the west was Star School, and then east Elm Flats, the north of Lincoln River, on farther. One-room schools all over at the time.
Did you do anything with the other schools?
Oh, we all knew each other and play back and forth. Play once in a while a ball game, which Sugar Grove always got beat. As far as I know, my mother was born on Decker Road, not too far from where I live.
1895?
1895, that's right.
And your dad, where was he born?
I think Martinville, Illinois, if I remember right.
And what year?
1877.
They both were married before they married each other.
Yes.
You don't know much about your dad?
No, I know it seemed like a nice person. I know her. Time I took my folks to Martinville, Illinois, at the Union, the year I graduated from high school. I had a car. And I know that my mother and his first wife spent a lot of time together that day. They were friends.
And you knew Howard, his son.
Oh.
That was your half-brother.
Yeah, he passed away, I think he was 62, of a heart attack.
And I remember he came and worked with you once
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
Yeah, Uncle Al hired him.
And he was there a while?
Stayed at our house.
For a little while.
Yeah.
And what did Howard do most of the time for a living?
He farmed most of his life. He thought he was a carpenter, but he was too old and wasn't. And when Al hired him, I made sure I was too busy to use him.
So he was a farmer. Where was he a farmer?
Down in Illinois there.
Illinois.
On his mother's folks' farm, and they had a nice farm.
Now, your mom, she was married before.
Well, she married a dandy, one of them. Worked around the lumber camps and stuff, kind of whiskey drinking rascal. He liked to dance, so ladies' man they called him. And he was married before, and he had a son, about 5 or 6, lived with him. And he came home drunk and was beating up on him. Mother tried to stop it, and he turned on her. She picked up a big old cast iron frying pan and broke his nose. So the story goes. and left and come back to her folks over here. So I don't know. That was before my day. Only I know I'd seen him once, and he sure had a nose twisted. I know when my dad got a lion, she'd repeat his name, my dad's name, and he'd back off. You know, your mother would do that to me.
Francis was their son.
Yeah.
So
during the war, he was drafted. Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, an MP. He teaches me all the nasty tricks for protection. He was a wheelsman on the boats, high as he wanted to get. They said he was on the one when that army storm come in. One responsible for holding that. They thought it was going to hit the south crib, but then they almost bumped the north one. It was that rough.
And Francis had a bit of a wild side.
Yeah. A good man for the 28 days, and the 8 days he was off. I know I used to get in mischief with him.
Did Francis have any children you know of?
Not that I know of.
Tell about your dad's dad, your grandpa's brothers, and the Civil War.
One fought in the north and one in the south. The one from the north was West Point man, Brigadier something, I don't know just what. And the other one was south. He was something to do with the Andersonville prison, something about getting food and stuff. And he found a field of tomatoes. I think they called them pear or something. And they stewed them, and that stopped the diarrhea, slowed it down.
So he was a guard at Andersonville.
More or less getting food. Go around the country and get food.
And those two brothers were twins.
Yes.
And they were half brothers of your grandpa.
Yeah.
And that was in the Civil War.
Yeah. Me great grandpa.
That was your dad's grandpa?
Yeah. Me my dad's grandpa. My grandpa on my mother's side passed away at age 42 at the corner of 31 and Decker Road, coming back from Manistee, a farmer.
A car accident?
No, heart attack.
Oh, he was driving a car and had a heart attack?
Her man was with him. Horse and sleigh.
Horse and sleigh.
Had a wagon. He hauled hay, butter, and potatoes, and you name it, to Manistee. He was a farmer, one of the better ones. They said he had the best farm in the county. I don't know.
And at 42, he had a heart attack.
Yeah. Passed away at the corner out there at Decker Road and 31. I think Arlo Burley was with him. I'm not sure of the car. Okay. I know that was a neighbor of me. I'm not sure who was with him, but...
Tell me a little bit about Mom's mother living north of you on a farm. You kind of knew the family.
Well, the DeHuff family, my dad and her friends, I know he'd come over and the two would get in a two-wheel cart my dad had, and they'd go into Scottville shopping together. And we got pigs there one time, piglets, across the river. I wasn't very old, but I knew my wife's grandpa.
And their last name was DeHuff?
Yep.
And where did the Ames come in at?
Let's see, the oldest one was Fanny. She married Starker in Ludington.
These are the DeHuffs?
No, that was my mother's sisters.
Oh, your mother's sisters are the Ames?
Yeah.
Your mother was an Ames?
Yeah. So they lost, one was older than my mother that flew. World War II. As I said, my grandma used to accuse my mother of being crazy by marrying two older men.
So your mother's maiden name was Ames.
Yes.
Tell me about the property, how you came about the property.
I was supposed to be looking after my mother was badly in a hospital at Traverse City, and I was putting too much of my own money in it. I resigned it and gave a court a letter, registered letter, and went to Chicago and built a house, fancy home for my cousin. Then I went from there to Urbana-Champaign. It isn't always what you know, it's who you know gets you a job. about a year and a half, and then the friend of the court here had pulled me back because I was paying too much child support. I'd pay 3 runs rent for my ex-wife and some other things. He wanted to get straightened out so I could go ahead with my life. He was actually a friend trying to help both sides.
And your kids were Dick and Ralph and Darlene. Do you remember what year they were born?
I'd have to stop and think a minute.
Well, I know Darlene was born the same as me, 1956.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think Ralph might have been 1955.
He was about a year apart, just over a year.
Yeah, about 1955.
And then there was a little difference. Let's see, Dick, he'd been 49, I think it was 52, June of 52. You know, the first one was quite an exciting. 31 was closed off. Hanson Road, and the only car I had demolished. My life, I was taking Evelyn to the doctor. She was 2 weeks past due for Dick, and they took her in a hurry, but 2 weeks after that, she had Dick. He was a month past his due date. Then in 6 weeks, his stomach closed off, and they shipped him to Traverse City. They operated on him, 6-7 weeks there.
So when you got in the car accident, you were trying to take Evelyn to the hospital?
Taking my sister, my wife, said the highway closed using that. Taking her to the doctor's office or hospital.
And the lady hit you?
Yeah.
And said,
oh,
you can sue.
She was responsible for the accident, she told the sheriff. She said, you can sue a beggar and catch a louse. She was a rough old gal, I knew her.
and then you had to drive Dick to Traverse City with the lights going.
Yeah. When I first took Dick to Traverse City, I drove my brother-in-law's, either Fraser or Kaiser. Didn't have much over 100 miles on it, new car.
And you were going like 70 mile an hour?
No, not that one. We were careful. When they took him up the second time before they operated on him, they couldn't find the operating permit. And the doctor, I think it was Mayo's or somewhere, wasn't traveling around. He called and couldn't find the operating permit. I told him we were 90 miles away or more. I'd get there as quick as I could. Well, I did. I had a Ford. I had it all nice, fancied up, without glass packs and all. And passed the state police in Parkdale, driving 70 at 35 miles old, and they never stopped me. He went ahead quite a while. It was one way or other on his life.
As a baby?
Yeah, he was 10 or 11 years old before we had to feed him in the middle of the morning and afternoon, and he went to school.
When you were just out of high school, you and 2 other guys traveled.
Oh, yeah, everything. Them days, signs would go west, young man, go west. We figured anything west of the Mississippi was west. I had a car I could drive, but we decided to hitchhike and ride the rails and bum around for a while. First, we wanted to go north or south. We should have went south, but with the roads around Chicago and that, we ended up going north where I wanted to see Duluth, Minnesota. Just stay a few days and got there, looking at the town. We walked around looking to see if we could find some kind of interesting construction. And a fellow fell down and looked like he moved a piece of steel when he hurt himself. Went over and talking with him. Ended up spending more time than I should there. He was building a house for someone else, and he had a couple fellows who were going to nail the roof off. Well, he paid them, they went and got drunk. Of course, we volunteered that and got down.
And then you went around?
Yeah, I went down through the Dakotas into Nebraska. One wanted to see the capital of Nebraska and the architecture there. It was nice. We came back to Omaha and rode the trains into Chicago, paid our tickets.
Did you ride some trains that you just jumped on?
Oh yeah, from up Peninsula to Wisconsin, we see an engine backing into a siding. We put our boats and stuff. We see a boxcar with the doors open. And the boys from come home and service a joke about riding cars and all. And the one, the flat car with the sides on where you sit down in, don't ever ride them. Hard, no steel, them doors with bumps. You get your rear end pounded whether you wanted it or not.
So you were on one of them.
Yeah, we rode one or two of them. We hitchhiked quite a bit. We rode some cars, some railroad, some in Wisconsin.
And who were the two guys that went with you?
Ken Wolf and Russ Nielsen.
Okay. And you were 19.
Yeah, Ken was 20 and Russ 21.
That trip started in June or July?
Middle of July.
And you got back in September?
Yeah, we was going back for Labor Day, and we got it a little later. The Big Mac Bridge wasn't in then. We crossed the straits on a ferry. I don't know, Chief something, or I think it was an Indian name. We hitchhiked from Sugar Grove there, got rides up in a hurry there, as fast as we drove.
Back to your property. You had to buy that back from Irma Daly?
I'd saved up good when I was over in Illinois.
So she put it in her name?
Yeah, she borrowed it. She bought off the courts and stuff. It was in her name. She sold it back to me on a land contract.
And what year did you get that back?
1959.
Do you remember when your dad bought it?
I don't. I'd have to look in the abstract for a while. Yeah, I know when the house burned, he had insurance on it, but it all went to the bank here in Ludington. Then he borrowed the Bank of Scottville. It's on that.
Yeah,
the mortgages.
Okay. Yeah, it must have been sometime right after you were born that he bought it. Because you were born in a house south.
Yeah.
So he must have bought it after that.
Oh, he lived there for a few years before he bought it. No
Oh.
money. See, the bank get somebody in them places vacant. That farm had been farmed out, sand blows and stuff. Yeah, one time years back it shows what they paid $4,000 for that.
Yeah, it was all sand when we moved there as
Yeah,
kids.
my sand blows, sand hill. He was a lot different when we moved back there 10 years after I bought it, or 12. Neighbor would go up and down sand hill, booney bike, and you used to play with them.
Yeah, it was sandy.
And I scavenged all the pine, and I could get around and play on them sand blows.
How about the story when you met Imogene with Aunt Artie?
Imogene was up here my wife for 2 weeks. The first week, her sister Artie, and that's all the ladies in the factory was trying to get a date, and the owner of the fat called me in and told me the advantage of marrying a widow. And all the rest of it, he promoted my arm good. I told him I'd go then. He was the one that I told old Leonard Shaner. He took care of his crew pretty well. He didn't pay a lot, he couldn't, but he made sure they had a living.
So you came to Aunt Artie's?
Yes, and little Bill met me at the car. And gonna be my new daddy. He was a promoter.
I'm sure somebody told me.
I think he was up to tricks.
Probably Edie. So you came in, you and Mom
yeah.
went on a date.
Oh, yeah. And then she wasn't going to go the second time, and then with children was no good and all that. Well, after about the second or third time, we couldn't separate us.
And so you dated about 6 weeks?
3 days short of 6 weeks, we was married. We were married in the Lutheran church.
Aunt Artie and Uncle Ted were there.
Yeah, and some other ones, you boys.
Okay, and do you remember where you went on a honeymoon?
Up north, across the bridge and back.
Was it just you and Mom?
Yeah,
The boys stayed with Aunt Artie?
yeah.
Okay,
And I didn't have money to do much.
right.
We stayed the second night in your house in Davisburg, Emma's house.
And then you got us and you moved back. Well, you moved here first. Didn't you live here first?
Yes, we rented that house on Anthony Road.
Right.
Emma didn't want to live in town. Anyway, you figured like we couldn't make it. Pay rent on a house and house payment, two house payments, and drive back and forth to work. We kept track of every penny.
And so after about a year, you moved back
Yeah,
down.
I went down in February to finish up the house, put doors in and that. Al brought Freeman Brand over. He says, I'm going to be needing a carpenter's assistant in a couple of weeks. Well, that was quite a lot more than I was getting here.
And you would have only one house to worry about.
Yeah, one house, one less payment.
So then you moved down here.
A lot more money, more than I could make here.
Yeah. So in February, you moved down here?
Went down in February, went down.
And what year was that? 1960?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see, Martin was married in 59, Laura. Yeah, 60.
February 1960.
Because I had my year in a foliage company before that. See, but I said if I took a job, I'd keep it a year. If I liked it or not, kind of a hard head in me.
So we moved to Davisburg, and we stayed there about 12 years.
Yeah.
And you made a lot of friends. You worked for Freeman, but then in 1972 we moved back up.
Yeah, one of the reasons was Bill. I was afraid he'd get in dope with the rest of the neighborhood boys. He probably wouldn't have, but I had several reasons for getting out of there.
It was after Bob graduated, early June of 72, we moved back up to the house.
Yeah. And Bob started Bob Jones at fall.
And we stayed in a camper.
And you slept in a tent.
And I slept in a tent, and we worked on the house.
I was kind of ashamed of it, but I wouldn't.
But we had to work on the house.
Yeah, I did. Took more work and build a new one to get that in shape to live in.
But we moved in about Christmas time, or?
I was very sick then, and you set a door up and stuff for your ma to cook on in there. We had rooms with heating them electric heaters. They were insulated for electric heat.
Yep. So we moved in. I remember bringing in bricks and putting that door against the wall, going to the kitchen, and then that living room is where we made a little place to cook and a couch, and you had 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then in a year's time, it was pretty much finished.
Oh, yeah. See, I had money enough. When Dick got sick before that, who pays the bills in her hospital? See, if I'd let your ma and I had separate bank accounts, our names on each one, I put so much in. Her mother said that she got her checks the money the first month, the 10th a month, so she was broke. I know she bought groceries for once a month, and she was too good-hearted. We had names on both our checking accounts. We wouldn't use the other one. And that lasted for 50 years or over.
We finished the house in about a year, because I remember when I graduated, the house was pretty much done.
Oh, yeah.
In 74.
Yeah.
72 to 74, in 2 years.
We even had that room on the back, didn't we?
We had the room on the back. I think you even had the laundry room in.
Oh, yeah. See, that was going to be a porch when you poured the floor, and your ma on the laundry room there.
So in about 2 years, it was finished. And I think that's about the time your house sold in Davisburg, didn't it?
Yeah, it was sold at Dave Brown.
But it wasn't that in about 7?
No, before that it was, a realtor was sold it, but had to hold a contract, and I wouldn't sign the contract. I was disgusted enough I kept that one in case things blew up.
But sometime in there, the house got sold, one in Davisburg.
Yeah, we were living up here when we sold it.
Right. It took about a year or so to sell it.
I sold it to Dave Brown.
Right, David Mark, yeah.
Where he could afford it.
Yep.
He sold his house, but I didn't get enough. Your mom was mad because I wouldn't take that deal there, one the realtors had. But I didn't know who they were or anything about it. And I didn't want to we didn't want to hold a big land contract. I know it's a lot more than we got out of it. Sold it to somebody we knew, take care of it, give him a price that he could afford. She would blow too much, and I bought that house in Scottville.
So that pretty much made it better when that house sold.
Oh, yeah.
This house was done.
I paid everything off and bought that house in Scottville.
Let's talk about when Lori was born. You got sick with poison shrimp.
Yeah, cold shrimp for breakfast.
And Mom was really sick?
Yeah. She was pregnant at the time, and I was afraid to deliver and all that. They got it stopped. And I went home and left the door open to Dr. Phelps, give me a shot in the afternoon to help relieve some of it.
I like the part where you were driving and you were downtown in Leonard working.
Yeah, it was about kind of out in the country, just Leonard address, one of the Ford farms. And they milked the goats on the table. Quite a learning experience on that. Laurie was born a week or two later.
She had a foot that was crooked.
She had a leg folded right under her.
And so what did they do for Laurie?
Put braces on someone, moved the leg. She still wore prescription shoes when she started school. Mm-hmm. I know she had a brace between her shoes and she'd walk on that brace.
Was she kind of a pill?
Well, she wasn't any mischief she didn't know. Spoiled girl. I know she sure gave Bill a bad time.
I think she got 3 spankings every day.
Well, Jen had her mother hang a belt on her doorknob. That was no joking. There was a belt on every doorknob, and all you had to remind her she'd behave.
And then 5 years later, Penny was born.
Yeah.
I don't know if Penny just went to the hospital and was born.
She was everything normal. It was on a Sunday.
Okay, on a
Father's Day.
Father's Day, Sunday.
And I come in the church, and the pastor wanted to know what it was. I missed Sunday school. He knew she was ready.
And who was the pastor?
Pastor Hazen.
She was a little bit different than Laurie. She was more calm than Laurie.
Yeah, and she spent a lot of her time with the neighbors. Pat and
Phoebe, but she got older, and you moved up north when I think Penny she would have been 7.
No, I think she had 1 year there. She's probably 6 when she got up here. I know she went to Victory School instead of Scottville.
For elementary school?
Yeah.
And then she went to Scottville. So both the girls basically grew up in Scottville more than they did in Davisburg. The property and all the ways you guys as a kid made a living off the property.
Yeah, sold a few trees, had cows, chickens, sell eggs during the Depression days. See, I'm born in 29, so.
Yeah, born in 29. And then I remember even as when we moved up here, you sold trees, the lumber.
Yeah.
And you sand for the project? Or was that?
A lot of them trees on the west side, them silver maples, was planted at the project.
Planted at the project? And I don't know, the sand, was that to build houses, or what'd they haul sand for?
Just more or less sand fill somewhere. Yeah. Feel like you need a little fill around the house.
Also, way before my time, you guys made maple syrup.
Oh, yeah.
And how many trees did you tap?
There was about 400 to 500 taps usually.
400 to 500
Some
taps.
of the bigger trees got 2 though, like the one you're planting, you tap twice.
And you would spend all night long burning a fire when you were in high school?
Yeah.
And then you'd go
There's one real heavy run usually during the year.
And you were a high schooler, and you had to
high school, yeah.
Stay out all night long, keep the fire going for the syrup, and then go to school.
Yeah.
And how did you collect all the syrup? With horses?
Yeah, it was gathered with horses.
And a sled?
Yeah, sled and a kind of a wagon wheel, but homemade outfit with a tank.
A big tank. 400 to 500 trees, pulling a sleigh with a tank.
Some of them was just smaller tank on a dray. You know, a stone boat like we used to use, all wood on.
Yep.
One of them.
And dumping buckets?
Yeah, just a hose on his hire. Just unhook the hose and a siphon right in the, in the shack.
That makes sense. The hose is on the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah.
And you just lay it.
Strainer on the bucket toward the end of the season so the millers didn't get into it. They were in the sap buckets.
And was it just you that helped, or did your brothers and sisters help? Everybody helped?
I was probably the oldest. They did some things around there, but
They didn't help with the syrup?
no, I didn't do much gathering. Some, but my dad would drive a team around. I did boil. I had a 15-foot evaporator.
Wow. And the thing you built was made out of popple, a little log cabin?
Yeah.
With the open top?
Yep. And the cracks on the side from the logs.
For the air to come in and go up out the top?
Yeah. Instead of chinking it.
Yeah, you leave it open.
Be a natural draft from the heat.
And you went through a lot of firewood?
Oh, yeah.
Or tires at night?
Well, I wasn't supposed to. Get it in salted butter and set by the pan, little pad, hit just little on the pad, not over it wouldn't boil over.
Yeah.
Keep it from boiling over.
Okay.
It would boil over from tires.
And who did you sell all that syrup to?
Go to the stores, and Schoenbergers sold a lot of it.
And did you say one year you didn't sell a lot and your mom used it for canning and stuff like sugar?
Yeah, during war when sugar was rationed, she canned with maple syrup. Some of the late stuff that didn't sell.
That was a way to make some money, was with maple syrup.
Yeah.
Selling wood, selling berries, selling fruit, selling sand, mineral rights on the property.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways that was a valuable piece of property.
Yeah.
I would just like to hear your testimony when you were a teenager at Trinity.
A lot of young people went there. Peter Straskus and a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They'd come occasionally.
So you'd go to that youth group?
Yeah, just young people. Church and the Bible. And there was quite a few saved out of it.
And how old do you figure you were when you...
19. Because after I come back from the West, I started going there. Just stopped like when it was.
And they had a Bible study.
More or less, a talk among some of the leaders.
So you were graduated from high school.
Oh yeah, year after high school.
Year after high school. And you heard the message that made you think that you needed to talk to somebody?
Well, it was a teacher through high school. She'd bring enough to make you think, and I wanted the full amount. She gave New Testaments to everybody during the war.
What was her name?
Lila Coburn.
Lila Coburn. Gave everybody a New Testament.
Yeah.
And she was
just small paperbacks. During the war, they passed them soldiers and everybody.
And she was a missionary.
Yeah, before. All her life.
She came back to teach and gave you guys...
Yeah, came back, teacher short, she could teach.
And she gave everybody a New Testament.
She's the one that argued with Clavo, had the plant store. She couldn't preach out of the Bible.
Yeah.
She said, I'm not preaching out of the Bible. Where can you find a better history book? Romans and the Greeks and such.
Yeah, yeah.
And the rest of the class must run him out.
You said after one of the Bible studies at Trinity.
Yeah, where we'd meet different.
And
there was all a small meeting and that was general theme. Young people sort of going to places like the tavern and stuff.
And who was it that led you to the Lord?
Ruth Swanson.
Ruth Swanson, a great lady. She talked with you with the Bible and...
Yeah, she was one of the younger, more leaders. I couldn't believe the young people crowd they had.
Yep.
A lot of rowdies.
Yep.
But they'd come in and listen and behave themselves.
So you made a profession of faith with Ruth Swanson.
Yes.
And she had her Bible open. And
we read the Bible together and we prayed, both of us. Thank you, Father, for this day, this food and the many blessings we have, and guide us and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. This is Bill Trim recording Melvin Claypool on January 19, 2023. And we're going to do the story of Elijah and Elisha Claypool, who were twin brothers, and they were Dad's great uncles. They were raised in Illinois. They were twin brothers, but they weren't identical twins. Elisha was smaller than Elijah. Start with Elijah, the bigger one.
He was basically a farmer all his life. He was with the South. He was at the Andersonville prison. One that got food and such in my garden. He's one of the, and I found a patch of tomato field, and for food, the food was scarce. When they scooped them, they stopped the diarrhea. I remember talking about that and a few other things. And Elisha fought for Illinois, the North. He was something about the Illinois. He was a West Point man with an officer in the Union Army. And he had quite a history after that.
Was he appointed by somebody to be
appointed by one of the senators from Illinois.
And then both the brothers went back to Illinois.
Between them and that, they had a section of land, a square mile. And as time went on, Elisha's wife got one of the diseases which is unpopular today and passed on. And a few years later, he had two sons. He left them to his brothers in the land and went to Missouri.
Followed a gypsy?
Yeah, before he went to Missouri, there was a gypsy crowd went through, and he fell for one of the women in the crowd. And about 5 days later, he just got rid of all his holdings in Illinois and went hunting her up.
And he went to Missouri?
Yeah, he was in Missouri, about the middle of the state. And he had been in the service. He got mustering out money. He bought quite a lot of land in Missouri. And he had an old Indian who worked with him for years, who lived with him. Was murdered by one of the gangs along with his wife, had been murdered. And his son was scared and long enough hid that he was affected him a little bit through life. And after that, he joined the Pinkerton gang. I was trying to stop the James and them, get the wild gangs down. After they killed his wife, messed his family and all up. Then he raised mules again. He took a big load over along the river, and one of them fought him on a leg and didn't think it was bad, but he got blood poisoned, and that was the end of him right now. That'd be the end of the story of him.
Well, and when he was there, he built these houses for people?
Oh, and on the land, he had a big supply of land he bought off the railroad. He had mustering out money from the service. And anybody who was working down and out and need trouble, he'd give them a small place to live and a team of them western horses. And they'd work back and forth. He had a big land, and he was good. He helped several families out during his day.
How'd he build the houses?
Oh, he built a one-room house. He built the fireplace first. He'd take one of them clays and he'd put brush and stuff around the fire. See, brick is a fired clay. They were stronger and more fire safe. Then he built the house around a small room, the sleeping loft above it. It was just plain something, a place to get out of the weather and live.
How'd he make the roof?
Shakes, split shakes. Made the roof out of it. I think he got cypress, some straight green wood. He was good with a hard axe.
So he was well known in the area.
Oh yeah, he was a rather handy man. I know he helped a lot of families out.
When it was icy one winter?
Yeah, well, they had a terrible storm and ice and rain, sleet for about a month. And most of the animals, even horses, were moved off. And he had that big barn. He took all he could get, a spring and all. He said the horses and the cows were just friendly, walk around and around. He fed them, he saved these animals. There was an Indian tribe about 50 miles away. He had a team with shoed for walking on ice. And they loaded the sleigh up with one of the horses that got killed and they butchered it. And He took a quarter of it over to the Indians, and along with their stuff, they were starving. Wow. He was a man that helped people.
Got things done.
Yeah. He was one that kind of advised the Indians and used what he brought over, not use it up at once, spread it out, and we stayed with him a day.
When he was with the Pinkertons, you said maybe he died with lead in his...
Yeah, they said he might have had a bullet. I said he had a bullet or two in him.
So he was quite a guy.
Yeah.
His name was Elisha Claypool.
Yeah.
Do you know anything that ever happened to his first two sons?
No, I do not know.
And the son...
There was other ones too, in generations I don't know much about.
And the son that was hiding...
He didn't live too long. They said he was mentally shook up some from all that trouble.
Because of the people that came in and raided and...
Yeah, one of them raiders.
And he was hiding and almost...
That gang, they said, it was just like they show in the movies. Gonna shoot up everything. That didn't please them.
So he was quite a guy, had quite a life. So we figured both him and his brother maybe were born around 1840.
Something like that.
And we're not sure when they passed away.
I don't remember the exact figures.
We don't know. This is Bill Trim, and I heard the story from my cousin Glenn. It would be my dad's brother John, his oldest son Glenn, who's 58, I'm 67, and this would be 2023 that I'm recording this. There were three Claypool brothers who came from England in 1660. When they got here, in England they had lived by the pools of clay. So they took the name Claypool. And then the other thing that I know, in about 1787, John Claypool, spelled with an E, they dropped the E later on, married Betsy Ross. John Claypool, he was the third husband of Betsy Ross. And they had 5 girls, one passed away. They were married for 34 years. And Betsy Ross, as we all know, is the one who made the flags. She was a maker of quilts and flags and pennants, and she made the flags for the army fighting the British. And she married John Claypool, and they had 5 daughters. So it's a pretty incredible story. I just thought I'd add that as a caveat at the end of all this. And I hope this has been enjoyable for all the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids as time goes on to hear the history of the Claypool family. Okay, bye.